So we are 1 year in the pandemic now. It's 1 year after the beginning of the global recession. What is the current economic and fiscal situation in Pakistan?
After 1 year, the situation Pakistan economy is really in very bad shape. It is marked with rising debts, higher inflation, and large-scale unemployment. In fact, I want to share with some figures, the basic and fundamental figures of our economic health. Look at our total external debt right in 2018 was 93 billion, but now it is increased within 2.5 years, $116 billion. If we look at the debt servicing ratio, in 2018, we were paying and debt servicing $6 billion, but now it is doubled after 2 years. It is almost gone to $12 billion per annum. And our debt to revenue generation, 2 years back, it was 39%, and now it has increased to 75%. Our debt to GDP ratio was 75% 2 years back, and now it has gone up to 90%. Our debt to export ratio was 19% in 2018, and now it has swelled up to 35%. So these are the basic, indicators of the health of our economy. You can well imagine that during the last 2 years, 1 year before the pandemic, you can include that, but due to pandemic, the situation further aggravated, in fact. Similarly, in 2018, Pakistan GDP growth was around 5.8%, but now it is just 1% and likely to decline further. The country's fiscal deficit is almost 10% now, and the revenues have dropped in the past 2 years rapidly. You can well imagine from, if I share with you that in the till 2023, Pakistan actually needs just for debt repayments $28 billion, which means almost $1 billion every month. And out of this amount, 19 or almost $20 billion will go to IMF, World Bank, ADB, and China. These four actors. This will go to, but none of them are part of the except China, I think. Yes, in DSSI participated. As you know, IMF, World Bank, they refused to participate in this debt relief initiatives. So only China in this DSSI was included. So major amount we owe to them till 2023 to these actors. Such situation, our economy is badly, hit by this pandemic, and it is continuously deteriorating. There are no signs of recovery up till now.
You described in what ways the debt situation deteriorated since the outbreak of the pandemic. How come this happened when Pakistan has been part of the G20 Debt Service Suspension Initiative, the DSSI that you've mentioned, given that the debt suspension under the initiative was actually meant to relieve the situation?
Under DSSI, Pakistan's debt relief was, if we calculate, it was around $1.8 billion. Just one, and it is just a drop in the ocean, because Pakistan is already, paying, as I told you, $20 billion per month as a debt servicing. So out of which you get a relief of $1.8 billion just. So which is okay, but not sufficient to my understanding, because this will help to create a certain space for the government to introduce a program of social protection, which is in fact is carry on, but it is not enough. So I think DSSI was a good start, but it should go further, as we earlier suggested that it should be followed by certain debt cancellations or debt moratoriums or other things like that. So I think under DSSI, they needed to take some more radical steps to address the issue.
The Prime Minister of Pakistan advocated for sustainable and broad-based debt relief since the beginning of the pandemic. What are your views on this initiative, on the championship of Pakistan for broader reforms and broader debt relief?
So, yes, he was I think, the first Prime Minister who appealed to the international community in last April to give a debt relief, a comprehensive debt relief to poor countries as well as and Pakistan as well. And that is why Pakistan was also included in the 76 countries who qualified for DSSI last April. But my question is, when all the parties, as you perhaps also know, that G20, World Bank, IMF, they all agree that DSSI is insufficient, it is inappropriate, but they persistently, insisting just to prolong it, just because they have just extended it till September 2021 now. So with every DSSI, on this, there is a condition of signing agreement with the IMF, in fact, which is definitely has its own, slope side as well. On the other side, to my understanding, the major problem is the rating agencies. They are flaring threats to countries who are trying to qualify, who are trying to use the DSSI, that their ranking will be downgraded. So these two things on the same, at the same time, is worrisome for many countries, maybe. But for Pakistan, I'm sure that people are divided it, that, this is not worth it program. So this is a very, situation which confused Pakistan, which scared us, that what to do and what to not to do.
A long-standing demand by global civil society is the establishment of a sovereign debt workout mechanism. Calls for such a long-term reform increased again since last year. What is your view on that demand, on that reform? Do you think, would it have helped in the current situation if we already had such a mechanism in place?
Look, as far as the sovereign debt mechanism is concerned, I always supported that there must be some mechanism, because the 10 years back, almost 15 years back, this was the problem of the third world. This was problem of the southern countries. But now this is the problem of the advanced and rich countries as well. What I understand, that has become a major problem. And there must be some, sovereign debt mechanism must be in place now. But what kind of this mechanism is? We must discuss its contours, its parameters, what kind of mechanism it should be. To my understanding, it must include debt suspension till the end of pandemic, as Pakistan is no longer in a position to repay its loans. Maybe some other poor countries may be not in a position as well. As far as the pandemic persists, the time it persists, these loans should be no longer be asked to repay, and it should be cancelled. And this demand has legitimate legal arguments based on international law as well, which calls that debt repayment suspension on the grounds of necessity, fundamental change of circumstances. Global pandemic is a really such a situation which demands for this call. If some country calls for the cancellation or debt suspension till the end of this pandemic, I think this is a genuine demand. And comprehensive debt relief should follow the structure of assistance offered by the global community, the same pattern which was offered to the Germany in 1953. I always appreciate that package was really ideal. If really they are serious, the rich countries, the G20 is serious to address the debt issue, and they want to introduce some effective and comprehensive mechanism, it must have it must be based on that formula. It must be based on that kind of package which was, given to Germany in 1953. And uh, as you know, the Germany got that benefit and really came out of those crises as well. So I think any mechanism, any sovereign debt workout mechanism must have its foundations on that formula as well. And it must be carried on. Independent debt audit must be considered also as integral component of comprehensive debt workout mechanism. It should not be excluded of that discussion. It must be part of the discussion that audits should take place at national level, should be responsible uh, to to identify the legality of the loans as well, because this is very important as well. Not all loans are genuine. Not all loans are just. Some parts of the loans are really odious, and they must be, come on the surface, and they must be debated and discussed with the G20. The results of the debt audits would then inform the process of the cancelling of illegitimate or odious debts. So my understanding is always that the call for repudiation in the air has no meanings. It only works when you when you have audit of those debts, and on the basis of those audits, and when we call the audits, it doesn't mean the partial audits, or it should be comprehensive audits at country levels with participation from by international experts, maybe local experts, civil society organizations. So any sovereign debt mechanism must include such steps as well. So that's my understanding.
Mm-hmm. And what you think German civil society should do to support your demands?
Support from the German civil society. I think German civil society can help us a lot, because international solidarity is really matters in such cases. I believe the debt justice campaigns cannot flourish in isolation. Debt justice campaigns can be successful when there is a large-scale solidarity muster from different countries, from different forums, from different regions. So I think this is very important. And what can German society, German civil society can ask its own government, because Germany is one of the greatest influencers in G20, I think. So at least they can, at the country level, can ask that you should fill your ODA commitments. This is very important. 0.7% of ODA was a commitment of the rich countries, including Germany. So if these countries fulfill their commitments, because so far this commitment has never gone up by 0.4%. If 0.7% of their GNI extended to poor countries like Pakistan, so I think this will solve a lot of problems for rich countries. Secondly, is illicit financial outflows. I think all the rich countries must raise voice to abolish these tax havens, because from Pakistan, we know there is our politicians, our bureaucrats, and our elite is really very corrupt, and they launder money and they send it to foreign banks. And this illicit financial flows through corporate tax evasion, big companies, they evade a lot of tax and they send to tax havens. These are the 2 points where German society can raise voice and can help us to lessen the problems we are facing due to this debt crisis and debt trap.